All right, here we're back for video number 2. We're going to call this Our Path to Finding Young Living. I know for me personally, it was a little bit different. I'm not a total researcher. I am just working on my pets. Dr. Susan's going to give you a whole lot of information that is just amazing. But for me, it was all about quality, and I really didn't even know that. You know, I did get Young Living. I started with it. I didn't really know what to do with it. I asked questions. I couldn't find answers because there really wasn't anything out there. And then I tried other companies because I was like, well, these are way less expensive. They weren't in the stores back then. Like, it's so far away, you know, like it feels like an ancient times ago. But I just went online, found some other ones, ordered it. I found what results I was getting with Young Living. I wasn't getting that with the other company. So, you know, they became what we call affectionately toilet bowl oils. And we use them in toilets. So we're not just saying we jumped into Young Living and we're putting this down your throat saying, you know, do this because we say so. We're doing this because we've walked the walk, we've tried other things, but from a professional standpoint, I mean, I was using my oils and Young Living supplies dog grooming, and I needed to have quality products for these animals because these were not my own. I needed to have safe, quality products that were usable on people's pets, because here I'm buying dog grooming products that are loaded with sodium lauryl sulfates and fragrances and food coloring and all these things, and they are not safe. You guys need to read labels, but you need to research them too. So I'm going to pass this one off to Dr. Susan because she's got some huge, amazing information for you guys. So passing it on.
Okay, here we go. Well, when I started with the oils, there weren't very many companies around, and through another veterinary colleague, actually we were roommates in vet school, I was going through some personal issues, and she said, here, use these oils. You need these oils. And I'm like, what? And she told me where to put them. I'm like, what's a chakra? So she told me where to put them, and I'm just kind of going, okay. And so I started using them on myself for personal reasons, and then I started learning more about them. And then, you know, as a veterinary medical professional, when we were learning different modalities, you really start to research where they came from, what's the history, and that led me to all the information about what started Young Living. And being from the Midwest, I grew up, you know, in cornfields. Actually, I grew up in the woods next to all the cornfields.
Me too.
Yeah, I didn't know Illinois was flat until I went to U of I for 8 years. But finding that Young Living is actually based on agriculture is really what's near and dear to my heart. It's not good. The light looks fine.
Like,
it's shining down on you. But finding that Young Living was based on agriculture really meant something to me, because when I grew up where I did, if the storms came through and flattened the corn, or we didn't have any rain and we had the drought, we saw the suffering the plants did, or that happened to the plants, and therefore the farmers, and it's not like you can go out and reproduce corn or soybeans to fill those silos if nature doesn't give it to you. And so that made a lot of sense to me. And then the more I learned about Young Living, I've been to the farms, I've been to the labs, it just made a lot of sense. And then the testing behind it just boggles my mind. Right. And I think I wrote a post about this a while back. All the tests that they do 3 times before they put it in a bottle, after they put it in a bottle, and they test it while it sits on the shelf for the next awesome. 5 years. And who does that? Who does that? And so that just really, to me, brings it home that this is something that I can trust. And so, you know, I started using the oils, talking to other people. Again, there weren't a lot of veterinarians out there doing this. And so I talked to people that had been using them with the animals and learned from them. And all knowledge doesn't have to come from a medical professional. You listen, you learn, and you work with it with your own hands. And just like in veterinary practice, what one practitioner does in their practice, if I would try to do it in my practice, it might not work. And so this is where it really comes down to being an individual modality, you make it your own and do what your comfort level is. You need to learn, do what your comfort level allows you to do, but talk to people and learn what can be done. And then again, you got to make it your own. We always talk about starting slow and low. We'll get into more of that later. Don't want to give it all away right now, huh?
Right.
But so I started using Young Living products, and then I started looking at some of the others, and they just weren't the same. I remember one gal came in with her dog, and we were working with her, and she said, oh, well, I use this company's oils. I'm like, oh, okay, well, where do they come from? And she just kind of looked at me. And so she gave me the name of the company. I looked it up on the computer. I said, let's call them and find out. So we called them, and I started asking questions. You know, where does it come from? Where is it sourced? Who distills it? How is it bottled? And the gal on the other end, she was on speakerphone. I told her she was on speakerphone. She goes, well, we have no idea on that. We just get them in a big stainless steel 50-gallon drum and put it in a bottle and put a label on it. And
Wow.
that made me feel good. I mean, she said that, so, you know, thank you for being honest, but it just didn't have the background behind it. In veterinary practice, we do a prescription for a medication, and remember, oils are not medications, but I have to know that companies that manufacture these products. And so it's kind of the same way, trust that I'm getting the best products. There's still always that what if factor. If the owner doesn't do what we tell them to do as far as how much to give, how many times a day, or how to apply it, and there can be problems. So when it comes to accountability, it still comes down to how people are using them appropriately. Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense. And it also matters what their environment is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they're going home and they have a very, I don't like the word clean, because clean is kind of like a misnomer, you know, like a little dirt never hurt is the world we probably both grew up in. You know, but if you're cleaning with toxins and, you know, you're prescribing an antibiotic for maybe some kind of skin thing happening, but the people at home are cleaning with Swiffers and the cat's walking on it, licking it, wiping it all over their body. I mean, how much is an antibiotic going to actually do for it when it's continually happening over and over again? So, you know, that's the one thing I loved about Dr. Albright when I met her, was that there's the intake form is asking you questions like this because she needs to get to the root of the problem, not just the actual cat itself. Here's the cat, here's what's going on. Ask questions. I mean, I've been in our clinic when, you know, animals come in and questions that were never asked were finally asked, and the root issues were addressed, you know, like the safety of plugins, the safety of Swiffers. All those things are really, really important to understand, that they're not good to be around your animal. But that's when Dr. Albright's talking about every vet clinic may be a little bit different. Some may be loaded with plugins. Some may be loaded with diffusers with Young Living essential oils. Some may be cleaning with Lysol that actually says it's harmful to humans and domestic animals all over the bottle on the back. And then other ones are going to be cleaning with, you know, natural cleaners that are not toxic to them whatsoever. So everything is different, and everybody's energy. And that's the thing I've learned when we went to Silver Retreat, when we went to St. Marie's, we actually learned a lot about the plants and how the culture of the people that work on the farm, meaning like you have to come in with a good attitude. If you come in a negative, you're going to affect those plants. And a negative attitude around some of our plants, those plants do not produce well. So think about that in your own home. Negative attitudes do not produce a happy environment, and that same thing holds true for the plants. So talking about going back in time, I mean, that's how our world was developed, right? You went out to the woods and gathered your herbs and spices. I have a vet I used to use that called me go home and take care of your herbs and spices. And this was way before oils, you know. It was like, oh yeah, marshmallow root and, you know, all this kind of stuff is what we use. I mean, my journey started in natural health a long time ago for my animals. But, you know, every clinic is going to be different, and everybody starts a little bit different. So the low and slow and knowing where your oils come from is so, so important. But being on the farms and like like we went to this farm together, but on separate days. So it's not really together. We were there the same weekend, but you know, you see the bees, right? The bees on that farm were the happiest bees I've ever seen. And they were a different color, like translucent almost. Like they were pollinating Melissa and lavender. Like those bees are healthy bees, right? But all that kind of stuff just takes into it the effectiveness, you know, what you have going on in your home, what you have going on in the clinic. For me, with being a dog groomer, it was huge because dog grooming industry is loaded with bad stuff, lots of chemicals, lots of toxins, and people are touching them, vaporizing them, breathing them in. It's going into your lungs, up into your, you know, up into your brain, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, reading these labels when they say 100% natural, just one thing needs to be natural in that bottle. Nothing else needs to be natural. So it's a lot of misinformation on those. But talking about like shamans and energy workers and all that, that's how our culture came from, you know, this whole thing of the medicine woman and the medicine man and all that kind of stuff. Like that all, I don't remember the time frame, but remember when homeopathy was like the big thing and then it got swept under the rug. You know, it was kind of like they start closing all the homeopathy clinics down because of drugs, you know? So, and that's kind of, actually, I think they're trying to do that again. I think I just saw something today about homeopathy and they're trying to pull it from the shelves again. So, and that's kind of where I started way before oils was homeopathy. And what I saw that do for myself personally, there's no way I would have gotten through what I got through with that homeopathy as easily as I got through. Oils probably would have been way easier, you know? But that being said, the culture is learning, grabbing a book, opening a book, doing some self-investigation. And when, like Dr. Susan said, when we started, there really wasn't nothing. There's a few vets out there from the beginning with Gary that, like Dr. Nancy Brandt's been around for a long time. And can you talk a little bit about what she does with her research? I'm not sure how you call that, but what she's doing with the studies and stuff.
The Veterinary Medical Aromatherapy Association?
Yes, I'm going to try to work on this beam again.
Okay. Well, the Veterinary Medical Aromatherapy Association is a group, an association, and anybody can be a member of it. You don't have to be a veterinarian. You can be, anybody can be a member. There's different membership levels. And the whole point here is to learn from everyone and to get everybody on the same page and create some really succinct guidelines about how to use essential oils appropriately. And everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has their own style. And again, you have to work within your comfort level. I'm going to kind of go on a tangent here.
I'm all about tangents.
Okay. But as a veterinarian, I'm going to speak to what I know works for me in my practice, in my hands, with my clients, you know, under direction. And everybody has to reach that for themselves. And in my practice, I want owners to be part of the team. I'm not going to be sitting here dictating, but I want them to make an informed decision and be a part of the healing process. And so that, I think, is really, really important. And so, bird is distracting me.
It's just hysterical that he meows.
Yeah. So, Veterinary Medical Aromatherapy Association is for everyone and is about gathering information and sharing information. It's not branded. Again, you're going to work with what essential oils you are most comfortable with. You do the research and you have to use it, again, how you want to use it. It's your decision how you want to use it. And in my whole veterinary journey, if you will, I've always kind of gone by the axiom, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I may not know or understand what it is that the owner's talking about or somebody's talking about, but I look at the animal, and if I don't feel that it's harming the animal, or I see this vibrant, thriving individual, hey, that's going to pique my interest and I might want to learn more. In fact, that's how I got started down this road, is again, watching, learning, observing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it interests you, learn more about it and then start to incorporate it. And that's how we learn. That's how we grow. And working with all these different modalities to make the whole picture is what makes me happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the cool part about it. And I can honestly say the coolest thing for me when I started with this was it was simplifying my life. It was making things so easy for me because I was buying pet supplements, we'll use loosely, from one person and maybe buying 4 different supplements from 4 different companies. When I found Young Living and realized I could share my supplements with my dogs, oh my God. And they show up at my door every single month. I order what I want. It's like game changer. I mean, that's my personal experience from where I came from. And not everybody's going to be that way. Everybody's going to pick and choose their own battles, but that's the battle I chose to use. So basically, that's just our journey. And that's a little bit, did you want to add anything else to this? And then we'll start diving into the other things.
Oh, I think we've covered it there.
Okay, cool. We'll be back for the next one.
Okay, thanks.